For thousands of years before Elias Ward was ever born, the galaxy lived with a fear that never truly slept. A fear locked away on a dead moon called Vault, a place so cold and quiet that even light seemed afraid to stay there, and at the heart of that moon was Cell Zero, a simple chamber of black stone and ancient force fields, where the most dangerous creature ever known was kept alive but never touched. A creature the galaxy called many terrible names but secretly feared as the alien cat. Because long ago, when the stars were younger and empires were smaller, this creature had torn apart war fleets, shattered planets, and ended entire species with casual movements of its claws. Not because it hated them, but because that was simply its nature. A living force of destruction shaped like a predator, beautiful and terrible at the same time. And after unimaginable loss, the Galactic Empire finally trapped it using weapons that burned out suns and laws of physics that no longer exist, sealing it away forever, or so they hoped, because no jail is perfect and no hunger lasts forever. And so for 3,821 years the Empire followed one unbreakable rule: never enter Cell Zero. Never speak to the creature, never try to feed it. Because every machine sent inside failed, every drone vanished, and every brave or foolish being who volunteered to approach the cell died screaming or simply disappeared, leaving only silence behind. So the Empire chose cruelty as safety and let the creature starve, believing hunger would weaken it, but hunger only sharpens predators. And while the galaxy pretended the problem was solved, a new nightmare rose from the dark edges of space as the Crick's Dominion arrived. An enemy unlike any before, a living empire of flesh and metal, thinking as one, adapting faster than any strategy, devouring worlds instead of ruling them, and as Crick's fleets smashed through defenses, burned colonies, and erased entire populations, panic spread to the Imperial throne world, where the Emperor and his council watched star maps turn red one system at a time, their greatest fleets destroyed, their strongest weapons useless, and every plan failing, until desperation forced them to remember the one horror they had locked away. And when the ancient archivist Varl spoke the truth aloud, the room fell silent because everyone knew what he meant without needing the name. The creature in Cell Zero, the alien cat, the weapon that could end the war or end the galaxy. And the Emperor understood the danger, but also the certainty that without it, the Cricks would consume everything, yet the problem remained unchanged. No one could approach the creature and live, until Vorel revealed the final secret hidden in forgotten records, that during the creature's first capture, the only beings it hesitated to kill were humans, a young and insignificant species at the time, too small to threaten it, too strange to understand. And while many in the council protested, calling humans weak, reckless, and unworthy, the Emperor saw what desperation reveals, that sometimes survival depends not on strength but on difference. And so a single human was chosen, not a general or scientist, but a simple soldier named Elias Ward, a man shaped by quiet worlds and hard work, someone who understood animals better than politics. And Elias was not told everything, only that the mission was dangerous and vital, that failure meant death not only for him but for the galaxy. And when his small ship landed on Vault and he walked through halls untouched by life for millennia, he felt the weight of history pressing down on his chest, each step echoing like a warning until he stood before Cell Zero, the door that no living being had crossed in thousands of years. And as alarms hummed softly and guards watched from behind shields thick with fear, Elias carried a simple tray of food, feeling foolish and terrified, yet steady, because fear was familiar to him and he had learned long ago not to let it control his hands. And when the door opened and darkness spilled out like smoke, the temperature dropped and the air felt heavy. alive, and then two golden eyes opened within the shadow, ancient and aware, locking onto Elias with a focus that could crush stars. And in that moment, as the galaxy unknowingly balanced on the edge of extinction, a human stood face to face with a creature that had never known mercy. And instead of raising a weapon or running, Elias stepped forward, heart pounding, knowing that whatever happened next would decide the fate of every world that still burned beneath the stars. The moment Elias Ward entered the cell with the alien cat, the air itself seemed to shift, thick with tension so heavy it felt like it could crush him. And every instinct he had screamed at him to run, to throw the tray of synthetic meat away, to call for backup, but he did none of those things. Because deep down he understood one simple truth about predators: fear provokes attack, calm provokes curiosity, and though he was human, fragile and small compared to the ancient force before him, he carried the quiet strength of experience from his life on Earth, where he had tamed wild animals, healed wounded creatures, and learned patience as a weapon. And so he sat down slowly, tray in hand, speaking softly, words almost meaningless to any other creature but carrying a tone of reassurance, of trust, of empathy. And as he watched, the cat rose, muscles rippling under shadow-black fur, each movement deliberate, precise, and terrifying, its tail flicking like a whip, eyes burning like twin suns that could melt metal. And still Elias did not flinch, only moved a hand slightly toward the food, offering it without command, without threat, because he understood that the first step to taming a predator was letting it make its own choice. And the guards behind reinforced barriers held their breath as the impossible happened. The alien cat sniffed, its immense head lowering, and it ate, slowly at first, then with a methodical hunger that spoke of thousands of years of starvation. And in that moment, the impossible became real. And Elias laughed quietly in relief, his hands shaking but his mind clear, because he had survived not through weapons or technology, but through understanding, patience, and courage. And from that day forward, he returned again and again, each visit building a bridge of trust, talking softly, cleaning the cell, feeding by hand. And though the galaxy outside burned with the advance of the Crick's dominion, Elias found in the cat a focus, a living weapon that could not be controlled by anyone else, only by a human who had earned its cautious respect. And while the Empire debated fleets and strategies, the cat began to recognize Elias's presence, moving closer, curling its massive tail around the corners of the cell, watching, learning, and subtly responding. While each Crick's attack on surrounding planets reminded the humans of the stakes, billions dying as fleets were destroyed, colonies consumed, and civilizations crushed. And though the Council of the Emperor urged Elias to retreat, to leave the cat locked away for safety, he could not, because the cat had begun to bond with him. And when he tried to step away, the cat growled, a sound that reverberated through the cell and across the vacuum beyond, warning the universe that it would not be left behind. And so the Emperor made the most dangerous choice in centuries. The vault doors were opened, ancient mechanisms creaking as the force fields faded, and the cat stepped into space, its fur shimmering with the vacuum, muscles coiled like springs, eyes scanning the endless void, ready to strike. While the Crick's fleets emerged above the moon, immense ships with living hulls and weapons designed to crush planets, confident that no weapon could stop them. Yet they did not account for the fury they had starved for centuries, nor the human who had earned its trust. And as the cat roared, a sound that fractured the emptiness of space and rattled the shields of nearby ships, it moved faster than thought, claws striking through metal and energy fields, tearing ships apart in ways that physics itself seemed to struggle to describe. While Elias held onto the bridge of his small command ship, heart hammering as the cat carved a path through the enemy fleet. Its movements fluid, deadly, almost graceful in the chaos of destruction. And for a time, it seemed unstoppable, a force of nature unleashed upon the galaxy. And yet the Krix adapted, merging into a massive, terrifying entity, a living moon of teeth, armor, and fire, more horrifying than any previous weapon. Forcing the cat to falter, to hesitate, a crack in the predator's confidence that could have been fatal. And seeing this, Elias did not panic. He did not retreat. He did what humans do when faced with impossible odds. He acted with instinct, intelligence, and courage, hopping into a small vessel and launching directly into the heart of the battle, weaving through debris and energy blasts, dodging death at every turn, shouting commands to the few human ships that followed, improvising tactics faster than any machine could process. Because humans, fragile and untested as they seemed, had one advantage: creativity, ingenuity, and the capacity for unpredictability. And as he approached the cat, still fighting, still wounded, he pressed a hand against its fur, whispering words of reassurance, sharing his courage, and in that instant, the bond between species one of terror and trust, predator and human, grew unbreakable, allowing the cat to recover, to roar with renewed strength, and together, human and alien predator became a single unstoppable force, tearing through the Krix fleet with precision. Each strike a lesson in the power of cooperation between species, and while the galaxy watched in disbelief, no one could have predicted that a human, small and seemingly insignificant, could walk into a cell of death and emerge as the fulcrum upon which the fate of countless worlds would balance, proving that courage, understanding, and the willingness to face fear head-on could unlock power greater than any weapon, greater than any fleet. And as the battle raged, Elias remained calm, his eyes fixed on the path ahead, feeding the cat not just with food but with trust, patience, and unwavering determination until the cat became not a monster of terror but an ally, a living embodiment of the galaxy's potential when human ingenuity meets the raw force of nature. And in this crucible of fire and space, the galaxy began to realize that humans, fragile as they seemed, could face the impossible and emerge as heroes, shaping the tides of war not with fleets alone, but with heart, courage, and the unbreakable bonds they forged, one step at a time, one hand on the fur of the deadliest creature ever known. As the Krix Titan loomed in space, a monstrous fusion of teeth, armor, and fire, dwarfing entire fleets, Elias Ward clung to the alien cat's fur as they drifted through the void, feeling the raw power of a being that had once been untouchable, yet now trusted him completely. And in that moment, fear became clarity, because he understood that all of humanity's ingenuity, courage, and survival instincts had led to this point. And though the Titan's massive limbs smashed through smaller ships, crushing them as if they were toys, and its living energy beams cut swaths of destruction through reality itself, the cat hesitated only for a heartbeat when its instincts sensed the Titan's overwhelming power, and Elias pressed his hand against its shimmering fur, whispering words of reassurance and confidence, reminding it of the bond they had formed, the trust it had learned to place in a human. And the cat roared again, a sound that resonated through space, bending shields, cracking energy fields, and sending shock waves that scattered debris and enemy vessels alike, while human ships, inspired by the courage of a single man and the raw might of the creature he had befriended, moved with daring maneuvers, weaving through fire and wreckage to flank the Titan, firing weapons in patterns no algorithm could predict. And as the Titan adjusted, striking down anything in its path, Elias calculated the impossible, realizing that to defeat a foe of this magnitude, He could not rely on conventional tactics. He had to trust instinct, innovation, and the creature he had spent weeks earning the trust of. So he maneuvered onto the cat's back, clinging as they surged forward. And together they became a single living weapon. A fusion of human cunning and alien power, darting between titan limbs, dodging gouts of energy that melted starship hulls, and finding weaknesses no one else could see. Striking at the titan's core with precision and timing. The cat's claws tearing through alien armor, shattering energy conduits, while Elias used hand tools and makeshift explosives to exploit openings, human ingenuity complementing raw strength in a dance of death and survival, all while the galaxy watched helplessly, some holding hope, some mourning what seemed inevitable. And though the Titan fought with adaptive strategies, reshaping itself like a nightmare made of metal and flesh, the bond between Elias and the cat proved stronger, for it was built on trust, courage, and countless small choices, tiny acts of care and patience that had been forged in the quiet of a Cell-on-Charon vault. And when the Titan swung a massive limb toward them, the cat leapt with Elias on its back, twisting space itself in a maneuver that bent light and energy, landing in the core of the enemy, and as the core erupted in a blinding wave of energy, consuming itself from the inside out, Elias and the cat were caught in the blast, thrown into the void, yet the bond held firm, the cat wrapping its tail around him and warping them back to safety, leaving only fragments of the Titan drifting like burned-out stars, while human fleets, inspired by the courage and creativity of one man, pushed back the remaining Krik's forces, reclaiming lost territories and showing the galaxy that humans, small and fragile, could adapt, improvise, and achieve feats thought impossible. And as Elias floated beside the cat, exhausted and gasping for breath, he realized that this was more than victory. It was a lesson written across the void, that courage, empathy, patience, and trust, qualities humans often underestimated in themselves, could shape the fate of worlds, could tame forces beyond reckoning. And in the quiet aftermath, when the cat curled its massive body around him and the stars shimmered in relief, the Emperor and the Council finally understood what humanity had always possessed. A spark no machine, no alien empire, no weapon could ever match, and so humans were no longer seen as fragile newcomers, but as the tamers of the unkillable, a species capable of standing beside monsters and surviving, thriving and changing the course of history. And the alien cat, no longer imprisoned or feared, chose to stay near the human worlds, a silent guardian and living testament to the courage of a species that dared to step into fear and return, leaving the galaxy in awe, a reminder that no matter how small or fragile, a being with heart, determination, and trust could face the impossible, and that the bond between human and monster, built in the quiet moments of feeding, patience, and bravery, could echo across the stars, shaping the destiny of countless worlds, ensuring that humanity would be remembered not for weakness, but for the courage that could tame the deadliest force in the universe.